Hello, this is Roland. Checking in to see how you're doing. Hope you're doing better. Today I want to talk about a couple of my books. Don't talk about my books very much. I spend a lot of time going back to basics because there are some very important basics that you have to get. Okay? Um, for example, being willing to admit that you're wrong. A lot of people never get to first base spiritually because they don't want to admit they're wrong. Okay, so that's an important thing I talk about. The other thing I talk about a lot is meditation because most people are lost between their ears, lost in the fantasy virtual reality world of the imagination and thinking. And they look there for answers. And the answers that come back are either not right or they're something they learned a long time ago from someone and the timing is not correct. Okay, and some of the answers are just flat out wrong. Okay, and then the person goes out in the world, makes a big mess out of everything, and then hides in thinking to not see that the mess that they made of everything. So people become escape artists. They hide in their work, they hide in drugs, alcohol, marijuana, trivia, texting, shopping. Okay, but the main place that people hide is in their imagination, their thoughts. And eventually they become ruled by their thoughts. Originally at first they think they use the thought. They think they're using the thoughts to tell them what they want to hear and make them feel good. Even though they're failing in reality, people want to imagine themselves as great, or wonderful in some way. But eventually those thoughts come to dominate and torment from within. That's not good. So you need to get out of thoughts. And the other thing is basically just calm down, okay? And then the other thing is to find God, okay? Or stop hiding in your thoughts, stop being angry, stop resenting people, okay? Stand back from getting caught up in things, and then you make yourself available so He can find you. Okay? And I have a meditation that assists with that process. Okay? So that's what I talk about all the time. But sometimes I feel bad because I don't talk about more advanced topics. But I know you have to get the basics. If somebody doesn't hear me on the radio or watch some of my YouTube videos and then somehow, listen, when they hear me, they somehow see that I know what I'm talking about. Or something strikes a responsive chord. See? You say, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or, yeah. Or, see? Something like that. Or I say what you've always thought. Or I say what you have always secretly known in your heart but doubted. That type of thing. So, but you need to hear me on the radio. You need to see me on the YouTube. And then use the meditation. Start meditating. Okay? And then, then you might be ready you will be ready if you meditate properly for some more advanced topics. Okay? But I just want you to know that I have some advanced topics, which you could still try reading. You could still read because you may get it, or it may wake you to see your need to meditate, or wake you to realize some mistake that you've been making and then stop making it. See, like some of you are impatient with your kids. I'm just giving you a for instance. You're impatient with your kids. You don't even realize it, but you are. And it causes big communication problems, and you wonder what's wrong. Then all of a sudden, maybe when you read some of my stuff, you realize, oh, I'm impatient with my daughter. See? Then you see it. Then you can stop being impatient, and communication will improve 100%. Okay? All right. So anyway, let's talk about some of the books that I have. Now, here's one that I really like a lot. It's called Mike's Story. Okay, written by a friend of mine with my help. He sent me emails and letters, and I said, you ought to publish these because you're helpful to people. So he said, okay. So we began, and then eventually put them all in a book. Okay, so basically Mike had a lot of issues when he was a kid. Um, Compulsive OCD. Okay, he had compulsive thoughts. When he was a little kid, he had to do rituals like he had to line up his shoes in a certain way, and he had to hold his breath for a certain count, and had to do certain things because otherwise something told him that something really terrible and awful would happen if he didn't do that. Those, see? So he was tormented by those kinds of thoughts. And he also had all kinds of issues. He was traumatized when he was a kid. Okay, the usual, you know, um, parents getting divorced and all that kind of stuff. And he was bullied, and then he had weight issues. You know, he was overweight, and all the many issues. Okay, and then he started smoking, and then that was it. Okay, well he was able to overcome all his issues, and he talks about how he overcame his issues. So now he's a regular guy, doesn't have any more issues. Okay, it's all in the past. It's all water under the bridge, and he's not in recovery. It's not like he has to keep fighting off something. It's all gone. So this is really a good book, okay? And meditation helped him. That's why he wrote to me, because he said that my meditation helped him, okay? And he found God too, okay? Which is a side benefit, probably the best thing of all. Okay, so this is an excellent book. One thing he talks about in here is he talks about doubt, the demon of doubt. Now, a lot of you have that. You leave home and all of a sudden something says to you, you didn't lock the door. Then you go back, check the door, and it's locked. Okay, it's definitely locked. So then you leave again, get in your car, start driving, and something says you didn't lock the door. Okay, you know you locked the door, but you doubt yourself. Did I lock the door? Then you go back and check again, and it's locked. See, a lot of people have that sort of thing. That voice of doubt, or that presence of doubt. We call it the demon of doubt. See? It was there in the Garden of Eden, the beginning of the human race. Got inside, and from there it's been tormenting humans ever since. Okay? So you have to, Mike talks about that and how he, and there's good stuff in here about dealing with that, learning to deal with it, learning to stand back and watch it, not struggle with it, not give in to it on the one hand or struggle with it on the other, just observe it. Okay. For example, okay, so he talks about that in this book, Mike's Story. So it's available on Amazon in Kindle or paperback, quality paperback, like I have here. Okay, Mike's Story. Okay, what else do I have here? How about, oh, this one here. This is good. A Brief Introduction to Stress Management. This is a great book. I talk about some of the basics in here about stress. Dr. Hans Selye, the father of stress management. Okay, he did some of the original research on stress, and he saw what stress does, and he saw the cycle, and that people go through. And so that's in here. And then how in here I also talk about how we stress ourselves. It's not what happens to us. I know you've heard this before, but it's so true. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it. This excellent book about dealing with stress, the basics about dealing with stress. I highly recommend this book. It's only 61 pages. Excellent. Okay. Here's another book that I wrote called Helping and Healing the Inner You. Helping and Healing the Inner You. Integrative Strategies for Self-Empowerment and Spiritual Growth. Okay? Helping and Healing the Inner You. See, we all have this inner person. Okay? The real you is in there. And the real you has been traumatized, beginning when you were a little tiny child. and people were mean, or they were cruel, or they were confusing. See, things happened at home. Your dad wasn't there for you to protect you. Things happened. Okay? A lot of people have pulled into a shell, and they're in there hiding under layers and layers and layers of trauma. See, there they are in there. Okay? And then some people are out in the world real, um, what's the word to use? Aggressive, and they could even be a bully. Some people are out in the world acting like a bully or acting very aggressive, or perhaps the life of the party type, everybody very popular and everybody likes them. But inside, there's a person in there that's hurting, okay? That no one has ever loved, that has love for. Okay? Well, this book is addressed to that inner person, that real you, so you can come out and be yourself and find happiness and fulfillment, all kinds of good things. Okay, this is an excellent book. It's a big book too. Look at the size of this book. My goodness, it's over 500 pages. You get your money's worth. It's available on Amazon or in Kindle, at Amazon in Kindle or in quality paperback. Okay. What else do we have here? I'm going to show you one more book. Forbidden Food. The Legacy. What? Forbidden Food. What's the full title? I can't remember myself. The Legacy of Paradise Lost and the Promise of Redemption. Okay? Anybody have food problems? A lot of people have food problems. Okay? Maybe actually all people have food problems. It goes back to the Garden of Eden. Have you noticed how people's lives revolve around food and sex? Okay? Those are the lifelines to our animal life. The animal life that came into prominence through a failing. See, when Adam failed, he changed. He became more sensuous, more beastly. He had to eat, work by the sweat of his brow and eat, and procreate in order to make replacement bodies for his body, which would eventually die, see? So that's what we inherit. And you need to understand that, to really see that people are fallen beings. That's what. And when you see that we're all the human race is a failing race. Okay, but there is the promise of redemption because of what Christ did. Okay, of changing for the better. In every way, spiritually and physically, every way imaginable. But you need to understand how we're all failing. And you know what? That'll help you to forgive. It'll help you to forgive your poor old mom. Nobody ever loved her. It'll help you to forgive your dad. Okay, the world was too much for him. Your mom was too much for him. Life was too much. He never found it. He never found it himself. Okay, so when you see that, okay, then you can forgive him. And that'll open up your heart to receive love from your Heavenly Father. Your resentment of your earthly father stands in the way of receiving love from your Heavenly Father, okay? So this is an excellent book. It's about food and food issues and problems with food. Yet it's a real eye-opener. It's a good read, okay? So I recommend it. Forbidden Food. The Legacy of Paradise Lost and the Promise of Redemption. All right, well, I've told you about some reading material. And so, you really ought to. You can preview these at Amazon, of course. You know how you can look inside. But I recommend you get some of these books. And of course, get my meditation, especially start with the free meditation. What I call it the easy meditation.